Hello and welcome to my review of the brand new Chaos Space Marines Terminators from Games Workshop. Now this set will set you back £35, which is the same as the Blightlord Terminators, the Tartarus Terminators. It's more than Grey Knight Terminators, but they're also the same as the Scarab Occult Terminators. They're £5 more than the 3 Custodes Terminators, you know, the Alaris or Alarus. I just call them Alaris. They're the same price as the Deathwing Terminator Squad, and the Cataphracti Terminators are actually £40, believe it or not, but they are £7 more than the old Space Marine Terminators. If you go out and buy a squad of Space Marine Terminators, they're £28. That box set, I remember, because I worked for Games Workshop at the time, came out the autumn of 2004, so 15 years old, and I think when I bought them they were 25, so they've only gone up in price by £3. Anyway, enough about the history, let's have a look at these models. So first things I want to say is they come in this obviously fancy box. Well, there's nothing fancy about it. I think they're quite boring, is my opinion. They don't have that movement, the intrigue, the uniqueness that the Blightlord Terminators do, in my opinion. And how models look like is very subjective, of course, but I just prefer the Blightlord Terminators than these. These look very sterile. I just don't think that they are as creative as the new Chaos Space Marine box set or you know, the Havocs out of this range. These seem to me like the blandest ones, and they also have a very small selection of options for the weapons. You've got this squad here which has the Reaper autocannon, which is a must. This guy looks like he's got a power axe and a combi flamer. The Sergeant looks like he's got a combi plasma and a power sword, a power fist and a combi melter, and then just a combi bolter and a chain axe. Now, as people have pointed out, and I've discovered myself obviously, is in the codex and in the little rule sheet that you get, they're all equipped with combi bolters and chain axes. The only problem is you only get one chain axe. And I'll go through the spare parts later on, but it's a similar kind of story. Anyway, so quite a standard loadout there. You know, you've got 2 power fists, and you've got a couple of unique weapons, and then, you know, classic sort of Terminator with the power sword. On the back, it's looks like a different story. You've got a lovely looking word bearers one there. I liked this Terminator with the power maul so much that I even made one with the power maul. You've got an Iron Warriors one with a chain fist. You've got a pair of lightning claws. You only get one set in the pack, but then again, it's not really a close combat focused box. I wish they did 2. I wish they did close combat focused, and then you know, I say a heavy weapon, combi weapon focused kit like they do with the Space Marines. I'm sure it would sell. I'm sure 2 boxes of these standard Chaos Space Marines would sell. Anyway, moving on, you've also got a heavy flamer there. You've got the chain axe, you've got combi melter, combi flamer, combi plasma, and then the power sword. So I like these new Chaos boxes where it shows the different colours and things in them, and it also gives you like a trim guide too, to the Black Legion, the Alpha Legion, Night Lords, Iron Warriors and Word Bearers. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about the box a little bit. The instruction guide, let me just move the models out of the way first of all. It's nice that they show you 2 kind of options here. This one's gone for, you know, the power maul, the heavy flamer, the lightning claws, power fist and chain fist, and this one is the one on the box. I found it is misleading because it says you get 2 combi plasmas. You don't, you just get 1 combi plasma, so that's misleading. It says you get 2 flamers, which you do, but you only get ×1 combi melter. You don't, you actually get 2 combi melters, so there's a bit of a bit of rules there. Misprint there. The instruction guide itself is alright. The way the models go together is so monopose though. it's almost like the Havocs all over again, but at least with the Havocs you could have the different heavy weapons with the different models. With this, because the cutouts, and it's worth mentioning this, if you get a standard Space Marine box set, you can move the arms and interchange the arms whichever way you want. With this kit you can't, because there's a specific shape cut out that will only that will go to each shoulder, but in one way. Of course, the way to negate that is you can cut the you know, pointy triangle bit, but then the arm looks a bit strange. It doesn't quite fit well, and so on. And it's a similar story to the head. Now, what I actually did with one of the heads is, look, you've got just 2 head options for that. Back in the day, you could fit all the heads in this set in that hole, but one way around it is just to cut the plug off, and then you can sort of move the head about. The lightning claws will only go one way because of these plugs, again, unless you cut that sort of triangle bit off, and again they do look a bit odd if you do that. So it goes through the different options. It kind of leads you to believe that only certain weapons will go on only certain types of Terminators. That's misleading. You can have, I've put the Reaper autocannon on the Terminator that isn't this one that it says in the book. So unfortunately, I don't know what they're doing with the books, but like the Havoc book and the Chaos Space Marine book, they're missing out on so many options that they can give to us hobbyists in terms of, you know, which weapons go which. I think they just showed you an example, and it says, you know, choose the variant you want, but you can actually have more variants than that, and it doesn't really explain it there. I mean, it would be nice if it had a paragraph or something somewhere that said, you know, please note some of these will fit with some of the rest of them. You get the rules there, look, very vanilla, very boring, nothing amazing going on. We'll go through the rules in a moment, but that's the instruction guide. Thought I'd just take a moment to explain that and the box. So onto the models themselves. I do like them, but just not as much as the Blightlord Terminators. Let's go with the coolest model in the whole set, which is the Reaper autocannon Terminator, clearly. With this double-barreled autocannon, firing shots off at 48-inch range. I've given him these long tusks and a power fist, just in case. You know, he's going to be the long-range fire support more than anything. I don't really want to get him in combat, but if he gets into combat, he's got that fist. The Sergeant here, or the Champion, has got a combi plasma and a power sword. Don't leave home without them. Very good armor penetration. Yeah, he's lacking a bit on strength, but at least he doesn't have to deduct anything to hit. You want him to be, with those 3 attacks, you want him to be in close combat, quite close to enemy characters, and trying to chip away wounds. This guy looks very, very cool with this power maul. He's going to look brilliant in Word Bearer's colours, and for added punch, I've given him a combi melter. I've given 2 of these combi melters actually because I don't really have any anti-armour units in the Chaos Space Marine force. I'd love to get a Land Raider, well, for both Death Guard and for Word Bearers, but still, for now, I've got some close range anti-vehicle weaponry. But for me, still, I always play the rule of cool. I don't really play much, so that's hence why I've gone for this rather than a squad full of lightning claws or full of power fists. I've gone for what looks cool. So yeah, this power maul definitely does, coupled with this combi melter. Then another cool looking model. I really like these lightning claws, the articulated claws themselves. Really works well with shorter tusks and some tusks on there. One thing I will say is I do like the trophy racks. It is purely optional, you don't have to have them, but there are trophy racks all over the army. You've got a normal Space Marine, here you've got a normal Space Marine. This one actually has a Grey Knight head on the Champion, that's awesome. This one has an Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum, and then this one finally has a Primaris, and I do like that they're adding Primaris heads to their trophies. The Master of Executions, which I'll just preview right here, look, also has a Primaris head trophy. Oh, that leads me on to this one. Yep, so another combi melter, this one with a tusk through his nose, and that power axe. Power axe just looked so cool. Yeah, the chain axe looks cool too, but I've gone for some really cool weapons, the power maul and the power axe. So yeah, I've ditched the power fists. There's only one power fist, bless him, and that's the autocannon Terminator. If I did buy another set, which I doubt I would, because all the torsos are exactly the same, but if I did, I'd go for the combi weapons again, so two melters, the plasma, and I'd probably go for the two flamers, or maybe the heavy flamer and the flamers for the combi weapons. Mix it up a bit. It's always good to have a flamer if they do get charged. You know, if you're teleporting in, you know, you run that risk of them getting charged, and having a combi flamer will help, you know, in like a horde situation. Okay, let me show you some size comparisons. I haven't got all the Terminators here, but I do have quite a few. So, in place of like the normal kind of Space Marine Terminators, I do have a couple of like Heresy ones. Specifically, Tartarus and a Cataphractii. Now these are all the new Terminator armour called the Indominus pattern, tactical dreadnought armour, and it was designed during the Horus Heresy to replace the losses of on the Civil War on both sides. So the Traitor Legions, Chaos Terminators, were the first ones to use this Indominus pattern Terminator armour, and it's the most widespread pattern of Terminator suit throughout the Imperium. It you know, features those large rounded pauldrons and the iconic helmet design that represents like a canine kind of thing, like a dog. Then I've got Cataphractii pattern Terminator armour, Aquilon pattern Terminator armour somewhere here, Alarus and Tartarus. So you've got the Tartarus and Cataphractii. Let's just compare them now. So you can see that Chaos has corrupted them a fair bit. They are, I want to say, a little bit taller. The legs are a little bit longer on the Indomitus. Obviously the head's a lot bigger, but they're on same size bases. Yeah, the sizes look a bit off here because the Cataphractii does look a bit small. And then if you look at the Tartarus, again, looks a little bit small. Whether it meant that the Indomitus is larger normally, or whether it just means that Chaos has increased their size a little bit, but you can't really use the argument that Space Marines have grown bigger, because these kits have all come out in the past couple of years or so. But look at the autocannon, very, very similar. I like the flared barrels though, with the, well, 4 cutouts, 5 cutouts if you count the front as well. Fantastic. Same drum-fed magazine there, but you've got something there on the back. Same kind of holding mechanism, firing mechanism. But I thought it might be interesting just to show you the Indomitus, the new Indomitus, with the Cataphractii. I'm going to go and grab some newer Indomitus and be right back. Okay, so after much searching, I've managed to find a few Indomitus pattern Terminators that I've actually painted, can you believe it? So here we go. Here's the assault cannon, the heavy weapon version. They're the same size. Who'd have thought? Who'd have guessed it? The new Chaos ones look more in proportion. If you look at the legs on these ones look quite thin. The power fist looks similar size, but the shoulder pauldrons are huge. It's almost like they've got separate shoulder pauldrons compared to these ones. But if you look where the head is specifically, and the top of the armour, same size. The heavy weapon is, well, it would normally be the same size as you've seen with the Reaper autocannon. They've just got more presence about them, these Chaos ones, both with the tusks and the trophy rack. Let me just compare the, you know, the aspiring champion to the, you know, sergeant. Same height, but there you go. Just to give you some idea there. So they definitely work well with them. They're just a little bit, I say, smaller in terms of the trophy rack. Here's a lightning claw 1. There you go. So yeah, I much prefer those lightning claws. These ones are kind of inbuilt, these are more articulated. I don't know which are, I'd probably say these are better sort of service maintenance wise, and stronger because you can just replace each blade, but these are, yeah, maybe they're more piercing rather than slashing, because these are, you know, definitely fixed, and it looks like they've got their power fist, and then these lightning claws as some kind of knuckle duster kind of addition. Anyway, I thought I'd show you those Terminators, all the sort of Imperial Force Terminators, but there are a couple more left to show, and they are the Aquilon pattern, which are the biggest Terminators, and the Alarus. Now the Alarus, which should be against these most of the time, taller. The Custodes are, you know, almost half a head taller. They've got these plumes, which are taller than a trophy axe, and then they've got these big axes or spears or whatever you want to equip them with. They're on the same size bases, but just to show you the Custodes Terminator with the Chaos one, and then the Aquilon bad boy. I mean, look at this, absolutely huge. These are the biggest Terminators, way bigger. Look at the size of the shoulder pauldrons, absolutely huge, and the length of that weapon is, well, in the grand scheme of things, it's not as long as the Reaper autocannon, but look at the thickness. It's on this massive 50mm base as well. Huge, absolutely huge. So I thought I'd show you that size comparison, because you're not normally going to get those size comparisons with other reviewers that have such a variety of models. Likewise with the Adeptus Titanicus reviews that I will be pumping out, you're going to be getting full size size comparisons with the Forge World kits, like the Reaver, like the Warhounds, like the Warlord, and so on. Moving back on to Chaos size comparisons, so compared to the Death Guard then, which I've mentioned before, here's a Death Shroud, and I know I'm cheating a little bit because Death Shroud are huge. You know, look at the height of that Death Guard and this huge armour with the Man Reapers. I'm sure they're Man Reapers, but yeah, I was a bit dubious about Death Shroud Terminators, the bodyguard of Mortarion, or the bodyguard of any of you Death Guard character for that matter, because I didn't think that they were quite worth the money, because you only get 3. Boy was I wrong, and I feel an idiot for waiting such a while to get them, but I eventually did, and I did review them. But yeah, Death Shroud Terminators are huge compared to the vanilla ones. And then, yes, I don't have the multi-part kits with me, I'm still trying to find them, but look at a normal, easy to build Blightlord Terminator. Look how high his combi bolter is compared to the vanilla. Yeah, he's on a sort of a more upright position, but he's again sort of similar size to the Custodian one. Look, he's actually taller than the Custodian Alarus Terminator, which, you know, if you like big Terminators, then, you know, the Death Guard Blightlord ones are the way to go, and I still think they're one of the best looking Terminators out there because of this old Cataphractii armour, and their bulk and size really portrays the Death Guard force extremely well. Anyway, let's just show you some standard sort of Chaos models. So well, I'll say standard. I've got an Obliterator here, which is kind of like the Chaos version of a Centurion. They hold up quite well. They're quite big compared to him. Definitely you could hide one in there. I don't know if you're actually allowed to do that, but that would be quite fun. Have a bulk of them all protecting him. And then a normal Chaos Space Marine, just to show you the size of these Chaos Terminators. They're not much bigger. I mean, they've definitely got the bulk. But yeah, if you see the height wise, they are the same height, they're just in Terminator armour. But yeah, a lot more bulk, but not as much as, say, the Death Guard and the Blightlord Terminator Death Shroud comparisons. Finally, I'll just show you a couple more Imperial size comparisons. I know there've been a lot, but here's a standard Space Marine, which you may be used to. It's on a bit of a race base, but yeah, that is about right. And then the Intercessor is taller than the Chaos Space Marine Terminator. So there you go. Unfortunately, I won't be able to compare them to the old Chaos Terminators. I really wish I could. I've only got the Chaos Terminator Lord in the Start Collecting set, or available separately, so I can't do a comparison with them because this is my second Chaos Army, so I never got a chance of to get those older models. But I think I've done them justice with the size comparisons in this little section. Okay, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of their 8th edition rules for the Chaos Space Marine Terminators. They're a little bit lackluster. Their rules didn't really jump out at me compared to, well, just the normal Chaos Space Marines, and definitely the Havocs or the Raptors or the Warp Talons or the Obliterators for that matter, or the Venom Crawler. They're just, Chaos Terminators. Let me go through their rules then. You'll find them in the Elite section of your 8th edition codex. There are power points cost of a 10 and a points cost of 26 per model. Then you're going to have to buy all of their weapons. The Combi Bolter is, you do have to pay for that. That's 2 points. You can equip them with Combi Flamers, which is 8 points, Combi Melters, which is whopping 15, Combi Plasmas, which are 11. Each model is armed with a Chain Axe. Now that's only 1 point, so if you wanted all Combi Bolters and Chain Axes, then that would be 5 for the Chain Axes and 10 for the Combi Bolters. So that would be an extra 15 points on top of the base points cost of 26 per model. So the unit contains one Terminator Chaplain, one Terminator Champion and 4 Terminators. It can include up to 5 additional Terminators for a power rating of +10. Each model is armed with a Combi Bolter and Chain Axe, like I said. So you can have 10 in the unit, that's pretty good. So their stat line reads, as their Terminators, so their movement speed is 5 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill of 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 2+. So you compare that to a standard Terminator squad for Space Marines, it's exactly the same stat line. And you compare that to the Blightlord Terminators, which are a power points cost of 14, a bit more expensive. Blightlord Terminators are movement 4 inches, unfortunately, but they do have a better toughness, a toughness of 5, and access to, dare I say it, more exotic weaponry. And that toughness 5 really does help, especially against, the typical strength 3 or strength 4. And then if you add in their disgustingly resilient and cataphracti armor, giving them a 2+ normal and a 4+ invulnerable, and then a 5+ feel no pain, you can see why Blightlord Terminators are very, very resilient to any kind of damage. Anyway, moving back onto these vanilla Chaos Terminators, their weapons, so their Combi Bolter is a range 24-inch, rapid fire 2, strength 4, AP 0 and a damage 1. And their Chain Axe is a strength +1, so that's strength 5, AP -1 and a damage of 1. Now they do have a couple of other weapon profiles here, which I will go through. It says here, for every 5 models in the unit, 1 Terminator may replace his Combi Bolter with a Heavy Flamer or Reaper autocannon. I don't know whether that's changed. I don't know whether you used to have 2 sort of heavy weapons. I know in the old rules it did for Space Marines in, what, 5th or 6th edition? Anyway, so if you go for the Heavy Flamer, it's a range of 8 inches, heavy D6, strength 5, AP -1 and a damage of 1, and the weapon automatically hits its target. That's brilliant. It's a good strength 5 and a good AP -1. It's also a very good weapon if you teleport in and then you use Overwatch. You can equip them with, like I have, which I think earlier in the review I said, the Reaper autocannon is 48-inch range. It's not, it's only 36-inch. But it is a heavy 4, strength 7, AP -1 and a damage of 1. So you're getting those 4 shots, but you are knocking down the damage there. A normal autocannon has a better range of 48 inches and a damage of 2, whereas the Reaper one only has a damage of 1. Would have been brilliant if you had damage 2, would have been a must take, but as it stands, it's only got the damage 1. They've also got a profile here for the Lightning Claw. It's very odd that they don't have profiles for every single melee weapon and all the combi weapons. Instead they've decided to put a picture of, their new product, which I think they should have actually shown every single weapon profile and option for them, like they did in the Death Guard Codex actually. But the Lightning Claws nonetheless are strength of the user, AP -2 and a damage 1. Of course, like all Lightning Claw weapons, you can re-roll failed wound rolls for the weapon, and if a model is armed with 2 Lightning Claws, each time it fights it can make 1 additional attack with them. So you might as well equip them with 2. The war gear options: any model may replace its combi bolter with one item from the combi weapons list, and any model may replace its chain axe with one item from the Terminator melee weapons list. That's pretty good. It means that you can just replace those chain axes with power fists, power mauls, the combi bolters with combi weapons, so all of them can have the combi melters or flamers or plasmas, whatever. It's very free in choices that you can take for the unit. And to build on that, it also says any model may replace its combi bolter and chain axe with a pair of lightning claws, like I've done in one of my models. I've already explained that for every 5 models in the unit, 1 can replace the combi bolter with a heavy flamer or Reaper autocannon, and one model may also take a Chaos icon. Worth taking if you want to buff the squad even further. I don't think I've actually explained this before, but I'll just go through it briefly. So you've got the icon of Wrath, Flame, Despair, Excess and Vengeance. Wrath is for Khorne, and you can reroll charge rolls for the unit with an icon of Wrath. That's pretty good to take. Flame is for Tzeentch. At the start of the psychic phase, you roll a d6 for each unit from your army with an icon of Flame. On a roll of a 6, you inflict 1 mortal wound on the closest enemy unit within 12 inches of the model carrying the icon of Flame. That's pretty good. Nurgle: enemy units within 6 inches of any units from your army with icon of Despair must subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic. And Slanesh: if a unit has icon of excess, its Death to the False Emperor ability takes effect on any hit rolls of 5+ rather than 6+. That might be worth taking over the others. And then Vengeance can't be taken by Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle or Slanesh, so it's sort of undivided. Add 1 to leadership of all models in the unit that has icon of Vengeance. Not really worth doing that, seeing as the Terminator champion has leadership 9. So the Terminator chaplain's stat line reads: movement at 5 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds. This time it's got 3 attacks and leadership 9 and save of 2+, so exactly the same as the Imperial units. Abilities: Death to the False Emperor, Terminator armor, so they get a 5+ invulnerable save. Unfortunately they don't get a 4+ invulnerable save like the Cataphracti Terminator armor equipped Terminators, which in my opinion I'd rather have the better invulnerable save, but there we go. And then finally they can teleport strike. During deployment you can set this unit up in a teleportarium chamber instead of placing it on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phases, the unit can use teleport strike to arrive on the battlefield. Set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models, so you just teleport really. So the keywords are Chaos, Mark of Chaos, Heretic Astartes, Legion, Infantry and Terminators. So there you go. That is all I want to say about the, vanilla, the brand new Chaos Terminator box set. They're very bland. I would have rather them had a load more combi weapons in the box, more than 1 pair of lightning claws, definitely more than 1 chain axe, just because they're supposed to be all equipped with them. I like the fact that you do get the Reaper autocannon and the heavy flamer as a choice, but comparing them to normal Terminators, which do cost more, their power points cost of a 12. The normal Terminator squad, you can take Terminator heavy weapons, which includes assault cannons, cyclone missile launcher and storm bolter and heavy flamer. So they get that access to that cyclone missile launcher, but these guys get the heavy flamer and the Reaper autocannon. However, the Chaos Terminators, of course, they get this Death to the False Emperor instead of They Shall Know No Fear. They still get the same invulnerable save. They don't get a teleport homer though. Their stat line is the same, but you can take that Chaos icon, which would definitely come in handy. I like the models. I think they do show a fair amount of movement, and they're quite interesting, but definitely one of the weakest releases out of all of these Chaos releases, in my opinion. If you've got the older Chaos Terminators, I'd probably say you're not really missing out much. I think it's a shame that Games Workshop have gone down this route that they did with the Blightlord Terminators and Death Guard, really, in that I thought that was kind of a one-off, in that they'd make these models where you couldn't move the torsos and you couldn't really move the arms that much or the heads, but it seems like they're continuing to do this with these. With the current Terminator models, the normal Space Marine ones, I remember you being able to move the hips and the arms anyway, and the heads anyway, and so on. The only thing that was slightly different was the legs, but nowadays you're getting these where the torsos and the legs are always going to look exactly the same, and you can move their heads and modify them a little bit, but they're still going to have the same, you know, iconography and things on each model. Maybe that's their plan to, you know, as they charge you more, the Terminator, it's not really fair to say that because the Terminators came out a couple of years ago and they were the same price, but maybe that is the plan, to sort of charge that for some kind of better looking models, but with less options for customizing. Anyway, what do you guys think of the new Chaos Space Marines Terminators? I wasn't going to get them initially, but so many people showed interest that I decided to pick them up eventually. So thank you for your patience, and thank you for your patience in the delay of getting this review out to you. But I wanted to make it a bit special and sort of feature length. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Death to the False Emperor.